Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternities, a review for Emanations, which is episode 9 of season 1 of Star Trek Voyager. This video is a part of a series of videos where I review episodes of Star Trek Voyager one episode at a time. In this video I cover the first season episode, Emanations. So Emanations is the episode in which Terry Kim is, while investigating on the away team, a planet where they find a lot of dead bodies, he is transported to this other culture in exchange for a dead body, where people have this strong belief system, and they go in these subspace vacuoles when they're prepared to die, and they think they're being taken to the afterlife, but instead their bodies are deposited on this asteroid that Voyager is exploring. And when Kim tries to explain this to the aliens, this throws their whole belief system into chaos, and he's met with a lot of disbelief. Meanwhile, the Voyager crew managed to revive the person who was exchanged with Kim, and she is having a crisis of faith because her whole belief system was shattered. So Voyager comes up with a plan to try to re-exchange her for Harry Kim. However, it fails and she ends up dying. And so Harry Kim comes up with his own plan to get home, because there's another guy who is scheduled to die, where he doesn't have to die, and his family are pushing him towards it. And so he convinces him to go off and hide, while Harry Kim will take his place, and he will die so he can go back to the asteroid where Voyager finds him and is able to revive him. So, this is one of those episodes that is kind of always just meh to me. It's one of those like forgettable episodes that I kind of forget about exists, and when I watch it, I'm like, it doesn't really move me in either way. It's kind of something that's just like there. I feel like the episode tries to make a bold statement on the philosophy of death and the afterlife and various beliefs, and I don't think it actually says anything. I think it doesn't really explore. Like, it seems to me like they're pretending or acting like they explore, the philosophical ins and outs of the issue, but they don't really. I always find it kind of empty, kind of just uninteresting. Like, I think there's avenues they could have went that really explore this topic. Now they do, sort of explain what it's like for an alien race to have their entire belief system thrown into chaos and into question, because it says that their beliefs in the afterlife is not that they, get into a different plane of existence, or that their energy or something like that. Is that they believe that afterlife is a physical place where they take their bodies with them, and that was proven to be false. But then, they try to like throw in this sort of thing at the end when Janeway says that there's they found that there's like energy or whatever released from the bodies that go into the rings of the planet. So it's like, so in effect maybe that's their consciousness going to live in this different state of being. Which I don't think that really, again, that doesn't like it's not as deep as this episode seems to think it is. Like, and it's too kind of obvious to me. Like, maybe they do go in the afterlife. I don't think like you need that. And ultimately, the Harry Kim storyline with the other guy who was like just so happened to be in the same room where they were keeping Harry Kim. Why were they keeping them both in the same room? I don't know. If Harry Kim is this, controversial figure, that you figure that they would lock him in his own room and not let other people see him. But I can tell you exactly why. Actually, I do know why. He was in the same room as Harry Kim, so the episode can happen. Plot. That's the reason why. Because then they can do this silly exchange thing, and Harry Kim can dress up, wrap himself in these, like a mummy, so they can't even see his face, and none of the friends and family of this guy notice that Harry Kim is a different height, a different build, and just looks totally different than this guy. Nobody notices. And the guy just so happened to be in that room, and he just so happened to be in the situation where he doesn't want to die. And it just so happened that that Harry Kim could use it to get back. So it's too many just so happens for my taste. And it makes me think of the episode Half a Life, which handled this topic a lot better. Now, granted, it didn't really cover the same thing. It didn't cover, the question wasn't about what happened after an afterlife or after you died, and it wasn't throwing the alien culture's belief on the afterlife into disarray. But it was also, in a different way that an alien species could handle death and look at death. And I felt it was kind of similar to Half a Life, too, because it reminded me, that one guy who said, oh, my family no longer can care for me because I'm injured and I'm a burden on them. And so we have this ritual where I can peacefully go to the next, to the next life, which is pretty much what Half a Life was. Although there it was just an arbitrary age of 60. As soon as you hit it, okay, now you have to go kill yourself. But it was similar to they used the similar arguments about being a burden on the family, and it was his family was the one pressuring him into it. So I do see similarities. And yeah, Half-a-Life is a far superior episode to that. I think the culture that it explores is more fascinating, and I think they explore it in a more interesting way. I think tying it to having the emotional involvement of Luoxana Troy was sort of a great through storyline, whereas here, I don't know, I feel like this episode could have been handled better. For example, the storyline of the woman who Voyager revived. I thought it would have been more interesting if she actually did return. And then she threw in this whole thing as I'm back from the dead, and now I'm too terrified to die because I had this experience with these people. And because I had a lot of good scenes between her and Cass, and I think it was great seeing Cass take the role of a counselor, be the one to sort of try to sort of open her eyes to the qualities of living. But it seems like by just having her die on the transporter pad, seems like it was just a complete waste of time. It just seems like her whole story, all that time we spent with her and Kess, and it was basically meaningless. It was basically useless, I think is the better term. It was just, there was no point to it. And, nothing came of her. I think if you wanted to make that storyline mean something, you should have had her actually survive and return, instead of having the very overly convenient, and Harry Kim happens to have a roommate that he can trade places with, which is really contrived. So I think I would have much preferred if they actually did the exchange. I mean, yeah, as it stands, this character's whole storyline is a nothing burger. It's just useless. There's no point to it. It shows how cool Kess is and how great she is at making other people feel welcome, but that's it. it doesn't really serve any other purpose. I mean, you could say that the philosophical thing about because she thought her whole afterlife, what she considered afterlife was thrown into chaos and her whole belief system was wrong and she had to face it, and then she died and then really did find out what happened after she died, and then that thing Janeway says at the end about, oh, the energy goes to the ring, so maybe that's her and maybe she did find an afterlife. Ooh. No, that's not a real story. That's just kind of pretentious in my view. So, yeah. The other thing I was going to say about her death is, so they tried to transport her thing, and they beamed her, and she came back with the covered in the, spider web thing that apparently these people naturally emit themselves when they die, and Cass just comes over with a tricorder really quick and it's like, oh, there's nothing we can do for her. We can't be revived. So Janeway's like, okay, we'll beam her back to the asteroid. Why don't you actually beam her to sickbay and have the fucking doctor make the determination of whether or not she can be saved, rather than the doctor's assistant who just started training a couple days ago. It's just a humble suggestion. Like, maybe you should check with the actual fucking doctor first, and instead of just beaming her straight to the asteroid, because after all, the doctor was able to revive her when she was dead before, and right now, like, she just died. So it seems like they should at least try for the doctor to revive her, instead of just getting Cass saying, oh yeah, no, she can't be revived. Alright, fuck her off to the asteroid then. Like, I don't know. It's just, again, this is another scene in which I felt the heavy hand of the plot in there, because the plot wanted her to die, and it's just too much. The heavy hand of the plot was too present in this episode for my taste. So then we had, like, Chakotay at the start of the episode saying, we have to be very respectful of the, of this species, death rituals or whatnot. And we can't even use tricorders. And then I thought it was kind of funny when Harry Kim shows up at the other place and the dude's like, oh, did you take any scans? Kind of like, yeah, Chakotay. I don't know. It just seemed like scanning something with the tricorder is not, like, what they don't know won't hurt them. Like, I understand how you wouldn't want to, like, fuck with someone's grave, like Chakotay was talking about. He took the stone and realized that it was desecrating a grave. But taking scans with the tricorder, like, I don't know. That scene seemed a bit silly to me. And so, the actor who played the character that, the scientist that Harry Kim was dealing with, I was trying, like, the whole time I was looking at him, I was trying to determine if it was the same actor who played Deep Throat on X-Files. He also was in the TNG episode When the Bow Breaks, where he played Ragu. I don't think that was his name, but I always call him that, like the spaghetti sauce. Ragu. But anyway, the whole time I was trying to figure out, like, is this that guy? And then I came to the staunch determination that no, definitely isn't. It kind of looks like him. He kind of sounds like him. His voice is kind of similar, but he actually looks really different. It's definitely not him. And then after I watch the episode, I go and listen to podcasts, and they're like, oh, yes, this is, the same guy, they say him by name, the same guy from Deep Throat and X-Files. I'm like, shit, I was totally wrong. I could have sworn that wasn't him. I was like, that's definitely not him. It's just someone who looks and sounds similar. But no, it's him. But most of all, you notice I left out his other appearance in Trek, his more infamous, more memorable appearance in Trek, and that's playing Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain in Time Zero. Oh, that's right. Now I remember. Frenchman. Oh, fucking Mark Twain. And he did have that bit of a silly, oh, Harry, come, you can't come from the afterlife. Of course, it wasn't as over the top because he wasn't doing a Mark Twain impersonation like the way he was in Time Zero. But anyway, good old Mark Twain. So another important thing to talk about with this episode is Harry Kim died. And it's a running thing that Harry Kim always dies. I remember I always bring up this drinking game I found in the late 90s that I used to play. I'm pretty sure the drinking game was written early Voyager. And one of the Voyager rules of drinking, I think it was finish your cup if Harry Kim dies. But here's the thing. Harry Kim dies twice. Now, I looked up online, and all these things online was saying he dies 5 or 7 times. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? He dies 7 times. So this is one account of each time he dies, all 7 of them. When the ship is duplicated in Deadlock, Harry dies in Voyager, the Voyager explosion together with everyone else in the episode of Relativity. Future Harry Kim dies in the shuttle explosion in Timeless. Harry dies in an accident and he is returned to San Francisco by aliens responsible, non sequitur. In Emanations, he had to die to be able to cross the vacuoles. The Doctor revived him. In Endgame, he dies and technically never existed, since apparently there's something wrong with the universe. And he died in Year of Hell and Course Oblivion. I think that's actually 8 because he added it. And there was also like a Screen Rant article that said the same thing. Now, Harry Kim still died twice. Fuck all those other things, and here's why. Because it's not worth mentioning because everyone else in Voyager also died. Let's see. Relativity, it even states all Voyager dies. Timeless, everyone on Voyager dies, and then, only Chakotay and Harry Kim survive, and then the 2 of them die when in the future, when they're trying to alter the past. So basically everyone on Voyager died. Okay, non sequitur, he didn't actually die. They just took him from one timeline and put him in another. He journeyed timeline, so that's just a flat out didn't die. And what else have we got? Endgame, that's just an alternate timeline that never existed. It's not dying. And also, even if you count it as dying, everyone, all the main characters did as well, so that doesn't count. Year of Hell, again, everyone on Voyager died. In fact, Harry Kim didn't actually die in the Year of Hell. He was one of the survivors. We didn't actually see him die. So he actually didn't even die. It was Janeway was the only one who died. But anyway. And then Course Oblivion was not Harry Kim. It was the red blood or blue blood or silver blood. Silver blood, that's what it is. The silver blood alien impersonating Harry Kim. That's not even him. It's not Harry Kim. Just flat out isn't. So, no. That doesn't count. In fact, one of the ones I am counting, Deadlock, actually everyone on Voyager does die because there's a duplicate Voyager, there's 2 of them, and one of them is exploded. So technically that's another example where everybody dies. However, I make an exception for Harry Kim in that case because he died on the surviving Voyager, and so it had to be replaced with the Harry Kim from the other Voyager, which is still technically Harry Kim, but kind of weird because he was from a different ship. So I count that. And another reason why I wouldn't count stuff like relativity or timeless or endgame is because those are examples of alternate timelines. It's not actually the Harry Kim we know. Whereas in this episode and in Deadlock, that is the Harry Kim. That is our Harry Kim. That's the Harry Kim we've been following. Those other episodes, it's an alternate timeline, alternate reality that never comes to pass, that is erased, therefore, henceforth, doesn't count. So, and there's no point in including all the ones where everyone else on Voyager dies, because then you can say, oh, Harry Kim dies 7 times, but then you can say, well, everyone else, Janeway, Chakotay, Tam Paris, B'Elanna, everyone else dies 5 times, so who the fuck cares? It makes those 5 times irrelevant. But yeah, I actually think they're irrelevant because they're alternate timelines too, so they don't count. So only 2. Twice Harry Kim dies, Deadlock, in this episode, and that's it. Now, to be fair though, if you were playing the drinking game, you could do it with all those other episodes too. Because technically that is a version of Harry Kim that's dying. Except for the one episode I would say you're not allowed. Well, non sequitur, because he doesn't actually die. He gets pushed to another timeline. An alternate reality. But with Course Oblivion, I wouldn't allow that either, because that's not Harry Kim. It's just some alien impersonating Harry Kim. Doesn't count. But the other ones, they're alternate timeline versions of Harry Kim. I was like, okay, I'll give you a pass on the drinking game. You can drink the rest of your drink when you see a Voyager explode in relativity or the future Harry Kim explode in timeless. Okay, I'll grant you that, but it's still technically only dies twice. So, and that's what I'm sticking to. Anyway, I would now like to thank all of those that support me on Patreon. It's very much appreciated. Just help me continue with the channel, help me move on, help me do these reviews, motivates me to keep going and hopefully get through all of Star Trek. I appreciate everyone's support. But I'd like to give a big special thanks to Antarius, Jordan Johnson, and Brandon Nealhouse. Thank you so much for your very strong support. I'd also like to give a shout out to Tyler Cease, Benjamin Mead, Greg Marley, Francisco, Chuck Hooks, Kyrie091, Anthony D. Benedictus, Ricky, Matty Jester, Joe Lavals, Alessandro Lumigalcio, Newman Buckwald, Stephen Kennedy, Britton Berg, and Allison Fordyce. Thank you also very, very much for your support. So we have a few Patreon comments on this episode. First comment is from Norman Buckwald, who says, for those keeping score, this is the first time Harry Kim died. He would do so quite a few more times in the series and beyond, whether monetary like this or alternate timelines replaced with an alternate Harry's dying and continued until most recently the 2-Pip Harry. Is this from Lower Decks? I wasn't thinking about that. Did he die? I don't remember. I only saw that episode once. But anyway, this episode is a bit intriguing, although another Chakotay's demands to not even run any scans, which we never see from him again, is so the story can happen, as Harry Kim would have no answer when he is transferred over to the superstitious culture. When I rewatched this episode, I did joke, wow, people left for dead could have been members of the Voyager crew, including the others that ended up on the ship. But of course, they are all disposed, and the one they saved became dead again. Then again, maybe Seska, who was doing the transporting, didn't want to be bothered with any of these as far as her likely scheming was already happening. This episode is actually quite interesting and probably on par with early TNG. plots, but maybe even done better in comparison. Still, if I was asked in terms of theme and meaning in the long run about the wish of an afterlife and this interesting phenomenon, the main puzzle is why did this culture create this off-dimension breaking path to begin with? Unless it was already there and they decided eventually that's where everyone would go. It's the lack of backstory that's disappointing. I mean, I can say more about the Proto-Vulcan race and who watches the Watchers as to what at least the Overseer was about, but by comparison, and I definitely consider Who Watches the Watcher hands down a far superior episode over this one. As for this being the first Harry Kim episode, interesting, but it seems Harry Kim is someone who just caught in the situation, making him be like a suffering O'Brien of the series. And well, at this point, that's not much the audience can be attached to Harry Kim. And that's an issue of the writing, not so much Wong's acting. I will give this episode 6.5 spider-webbed bodies out of 10. And yes, I know Harry was considered to have a fatal disease and caretaker, but by some off-screen miracle, he with B'Elanna survived. Not that they even bothered in storytelling in any way to tell us how. Emanations is when he, in fact, died, granted for a few moments, hardly close to the record Neelix will have in Season 4. So, yeah, I already went over Harry Kim's deaths. And you could say, as I said, like, you could say alternate versions also. Like, a version of Harry Kim died, sure. But I think when you're looking, I think that they're in a different category than the category this is, because this is actually Harry Kim dying. And Deadlock, that too was actually Harry Kim dying. But sure, you could say, you can count all those alternate deaths. But as I said, most of them I think are insignificant because everyone else died as well in those same episodes, so it doesn't really matter. Let's see, where else? Oh yeah, so the lack of backstory. So what I did gather, and I don't know if you got this or not, but what I gathered was that these subspace vacuoles were naturally occurring. So they were already happening. And so somehow these vacuoles got integrated into their mythology and into their culture, into their society, and it became sort of a religion built off of that this is, someone got the idea that it's the doorway to the afterlife, so that's why they started. And they even said, like, the place that they were, that Harry Kim was at, that had the, the big coffin thing that people went in to go to die, that was built on a natural occurring location where these subspace vacuoles happen all the time. And in fact, there were other locations throughout their planet where they naturally occurred, and they built these, temples or these buildings specifically on those, and they built the coffin thingies specifically on the place where the vacuole happens. So they based their whole, and so that's what I gathered on this. And so I think that was somewhat of an interesting, somewhat explained their backstory, and I think that was an interesting concept, that there would be these natural subspace vacuoles that occur on a regular basis on certain parts of the planet, and that was naturally integrated into their culture and mythology. Because I feel like if there was something like that on Earth, like, let's say in Arizona, there was like this, weird phenomenon that takes you to another dimension that happens twice a year, like, that would become a sacred place. Like, there would be mythology built around that. It would be built into culture and stuff like that, and they might, like, do stuff with it. But yeah. So yeah, I did find that an interesting concept. Alright, so next, comment is from Kyrie091, who says, Emanations, more like, man, it's lame, son. To the tune of Star Trek Voyager theme. Ensign Harry Kim, Ensign Harry Kim, Ensign Kim, Harry Kim, Ensign. I think I might have messed that up. That's right, folks. It's the Harry fucking Kim show, starring Ensign Harry Kim as Harry Kim Ensign. Yeah. Also, getting back to Norman's point, I think they made a good point about Harry Kim sort of becoming the O'Brien of the series, that he's almost the Harry Kim must suffer is almost the cliche, because they do that a lot with him. Actually, the more I think about it, like he was attacked in Scorpion, and he was put into the shoot episode. He was put in prison and had to go through hell, and yeah, there seems to be a lot of episodes. So maybe it's a Harry Kim must suffer is actually a cliche, but no one really caught on to it. It didn't catch on the way that the Miles must suffer one did. Anyway, next comment is from Ricky, who says, I like this episode. I think this is really unique one, exploring the concept about death, and it's great that we see Harry Kim in action, and that he is more than just simply the guy who pushes the button and says a few lines. I really like and cared about the guest character of the episode, and again, the show will lose this as it becomes more four-head aliens attacking Voyager instead of a good character story. Although it's not an amazing episode, I do like what it says about the concept of death and what happens when you die. So yeah, good episode. So my rating is a 7 out of 10. Now that's a good point about the four-head aliens attacking. That's something I always bring up. That at least is better than that. That at least they, instead of it being, four-head aliens attacking the ship, that it's explores like a weird and unique culture and how they sort of interact with different things. So I will give it credit for that, for sure. Although I will say, I don't think this episode did a pretty good job at exploring Harry Kim. I think he did come off as kind of a generic character, and I think at the beginning his character trait was, I'm young and inexperienced, and that was his only character trait. Although they did sort of do that bullshit with him saying he remembered being in the womb, which does make him stand out, but in a really weird, like, dumb way. But I don't know. And here it was mainly about how he's like, oh, we're not supposed to interfere in other aliens' cultures, and the first thing he does is like shatter the whole belief system. Oh yeah, no, I was just on an asteroid looking at dead bodies, and this can completely alter your culture. It's like one of the biggest violations of the Prime Directive ever. But I'm not really sure how he could have avoided that. But anyway, next comment is from Stephen Kennedy, who says, I like this episode about what happens to a body after you pass away. I'm not very religious myself. I know people who have changed their religious beliefs. I'm Catholic, and I'm not changing that, even if I don't really believe in what it represents. People have the right to choose a different religion or even have no religious beliefs. As Norman Buckwald pointed out, this isn't the last time they used the Harry Kim is dead trick, or is it a treat? I'm going to keep an eye on Voyager getting home, or find a shorter way home by jumping or whatever. Next episode will be the second time Voyager could get home. I think there may be 2 more in season 1. I know there once where Janeway cries to Q about the subject. I wonder, will someone keep an eye on the deaths on Voyager? So my rating is, I will guess 7 times Harry Kim fake deaths on Voyager out of 10. Well, 7 is what some people are claiming, but I think it's 2. I think the real answer is 2. I mean, if you want to count all the times, the alternate realities where the rest of the crew died, maybe 5. I guess, but maybe 6 it was, but I don't know if I really count those. Because why bother counting those if everyone else dies as well? It's only unique to Harry Kim twice. And that actually arguably only once, because in Deadlock everyone else dies too. So anyway, let's see. Let's see. Voyager getting home. I think that only happens one more time in season 1. Prime Factors, I think that's it. I think that's the only other one in season 1. The Q thing is in season 2. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll find them wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was just one more time. The Prime Factors, next episode, as you mentioned. Anyway, next comment is Antarius, who says, if this episode has been made during Roddenberry's time, it would have been very clear there is no life beyond death. Fortunately, in this period of Star Trek, they leave the topic ambivalent. The story succeeds in showing what it would mean to a society to abruptly lose core beliefs. I really liked how Chakotay was determined to respect the rest of the death. Dax would have beamed the bodies on board like she did with the monolith in the alternate. Later, they revisited this concept in the episode Mortal Coil, but in my opinion, this episode is clearly superior. Next week on Voyager, Harry Kim is questioned again and again by Janeway whether he has seen any coffee in the other dimension. My rating is a 9 out of 10. Wow. Really heavy on this episode. I actually think I might like Mortal Coil better, but I don't know. We'll see when I get to that episode, because I'm not that fond of that episode either. But I actually will disagree with you that if this was during Roddenberry's time, it would be clear that there is no life after death. Because you think about the episode where Silence says lease, which was when Roddenberry was still around, still had firm control over TNG and was inputting his belief system into the show. Picard has this whole monologue about how we don't know what happens when we die, and he coming up with different theories, like the winking into out of existence was just one theory, but Picard said he didn't believe in that. And they also brought up the whole, benevolent God, or and the afterlife thing where you get to meet your family and friends, but he didn't believe in that either. He thought that was probably something a bit unique and different, which is kind of what this episode is getting at too, with the whole rings thing. So I think it's actually right in line with what Roddenberry would have done, but that is just my humble opinion. Anyway, final comment is from Brandon Neal Howells, who says, an interesting idea which doesn't quite work, mainly because Harry Kim is used as the protagonist. I think Chakotay or B'Elanna would have been a better choice. I used to believe in an afterlife. I went to one once. Now I'm not so sure. My inner misanthrope is gleefully muttering, decrease the surplus population, which seems to be what Hatel's family have planned for him. I really hope I will not spend eternity with my dead family when I die. That doesn't seem fair to anyone, and I think it would get very boring after a short time. Maybe the Venori have better relations with their kinfolk than we Terrans do. Harry acts correctly at all times, which is more than I can say for Janeway, who is literally playing God by ordering the Doctor to bring Patara back from the dead and totally destroy her belief system, which really upsets her, and the only one who shows any compassion at all is Kes. As a person who was born with a major disability, I hope my family doesn't decide to have a meeting in the next couple of years and tell me that it's time to move on. I am not quite ready to go yet. I am feeling increasingly useless, though. I make no secret about that. The best thing about this episode is there is no right answer. Hell, we don't even know where the Venori live. I have to suspend disbelief when Harry wears Hatal's death shroud because they're obviously men with very different builds. 5 corpses attached to Voyager's warp core out of 10. Now that's an excellent point about the different builds. I brought that up too. I don't know if it's... I don't really like that there's no right answer, because that seemed to be kind of obvious that there wouldn't be, because we don't know what happens after you die, and it's just stating the obvious. It's reasserting, it does that bullshit with, the rings, that could be it, and you don't know. But no, I think that's pretentious. I don't think it should have given a definitive answer what happens when you die, because then that would have been very presumptuous. But I don't know. I think they could have done more with this topic. I think they kind of made it kind of irrelevant. And I will defend Janeway and her decision to bring that woman back to life, because they were like... if it's to save Harry Kim's life, and also they can save her life, then yes, they needed to do it for their investigation. They needed to save Harry Kim, and they needed information, and there was no way they could do that without doing that. And I think that once she was awake, Janeway was kind of sympathetic towards her, but it was mainly Cass, who... And I did like that. I liked that she was the one who showed the way. Now, would this episode be more interesting if it was Chakotay or B'Elanna rather than Harry Kim? I don't think so. I think it would be just the same. I mean, if everything else in the storyline was the same, and I don't really think it would make that huge of a difference, but that's just my guess. Anyway, thank you, patrons, so much for your comments. So my rating for Emanations out of 10 is going to be a 6 good. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I was between a 6 and a 5, but I think there's more good in this episode than there is bad, so I'll give it the benefit of the doubt and just slightly nudge it towards a positive rating. But yeah, it's one of those episodes that I really think is forgettable. I think that they don't do enough to explore the topic of death. Like, I think that one scene in Where Silence Has Lease, where Picard has that whole, philosophical monologue, is more interesting than this entire episode. If I'm being honest. And yeah, I just don't think they do enough. And by having that woman come back to life and just die immediately, it was kind of a waste. It made me feel like, why am I wasting my time with this storyline? And it was, as I said, the heavy hand of the plot was way too present in this episode. And Norman brought up something I didn't even notice about the whole thing about Chakotay not taking scans, that was also the heavy hand of the plot. So yeah, it was too much contrivances in this episode, but yeah, it wasn't terrible. It was fine. It was a good... You had Cass being interesting and had Harry Kim being somewhat interesting. So yeah, 6 out of 10 for me. So that is it for my review of Emanations. Now, if you enjoyed this review, if you did like it and you want to help support the channel, you can do so by supporting me on Patreon. There's a link in the description below. I have different tiers for different budgets, different rewards, such as a patron-only series of videos that I do exclusively for my Patreon supporters, pre-releases, request a video to do, leave comments on my videos, that sort of thing, if you're interested. But if you're not interested, but you would still like to support the channel, you can do so by leaving a like, subscribing, leaving a comment below. All that stuff is also very helpful. So let's see what's coming up on the old channel here. Where are we? So, Saturday, I'll be over on Patreon for one of those Patreon exclusive videos, revisiting my review for Prime Factors. Monday, back here on the main channel for another new review with Distant Voices. And then on Wednesday, another new review with State of Flux. And then on Thursday, yet another new review with Through the Looking Glass. So that is what's coming up on my channel. Be sure to check it out as I continue to cover Star Trek Voyager and Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and many other Star Trek videos and videos on other shows as well. So be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that. And thanks a lot for watching.